When the topic of pricing items to resell comes up, something I always mention is that there is no single strategy that's going to lead you to the precise and perfect price for any item every time. Our resellers eventually find their own way of doing it and their favorite pricing tools they like to use to come up with their prices, but there are common pitfalls you'll want to avoid when you're deciding on a selling price on Poshmark, eBay, or any other reselling platform, and today we're going to go over 8 of those. Starting off with the first and most common pricing mistake that beginner resellers make, and that is that they will use retail prices as a guide or a starting point when they're coming up with a price. There are a lot of brands and items whose retail prices will translate well to the resale marketplace. They retail for a high amount, so you can resell them for high too. But that is not always the case, because there are many more brands out there that will retail for a lot, but they won't resell for a lot. 2 brands that come to mind are Michael Kors and Coach. Those 2 brands do have a few sub-brands under their brand name. Some will go for more and some will go for a lot less, but in general, those purses and heels will retail for hundreds, but when you go to resell them, oftentimes you can only get $20 to $30 for them. So using retail prices or even the prices you see in a Google search is not the best pricing strategy. To add to that, whatever you paid for the item, wherever you got it, at the thrift store, a discount store, or anywhere else, will not matter either. You cannot price an item high because you paid what you consider a high price for it. Of course, the final price is going to be totally up to you because you're the one listing the item, but as far as the actual selling price, that the buyer gets to choose. It's up to the market what a item is worth and what they're willing to pay for it. And to find out what that price is, you are going to have to do some research, which brings us to the second pricing mistake some new resellers make, and that is that they will skip market research. The underlying message with all of the information I'm sharing in today's video and just the overall consensus when it comes to reselling is that there are no guarantees. Like I mentioned earlier, there is no way to come up with prices that are 100% right 100% of the time. But by doing market research, you can at least get to a solid starting point so you're not shooting completely in the dark. There's lots of different kind of market research you can analyze in reselling, and all of it will serve a different purpose. But the one that's going to help you with pricing is called researching comparables. This is also known as checking comps. Checking comps means that you will go onto the reselling platforms you sell on. You will search for items that are like the one you want to resell or very similar to that item you want to resell. And what you want to do there is check out the sold listings so you can see what other people got for that item in the past. Those sold comps are going to give you a very good idea of what customers are willing to pay for that item. I like to use eBay's product research tool to look up comps because it is a lot more straightforward and easy to use. The comp data there is a lot more organized than on other reselling platforms, and I did make a whole tutorial about this eBay tool. I will leave it linked in a card right here and in the description below. You can go watch that next if you haven't already. There I also share a lot of comp examples as well. But another type of market research beginners fail to take into account when they're coming up with their prices is demand. Analyzing demand is referred to as checking sell-through rate. And all that means is just basically looking at the supply versus the demand by figuring out the rate at which an item is selling. If an item is selling very fast, a lot of them are selling within a given time period. That means demand is high and you have a little bit more leeway to price your item at market value or a little bit higher if your item has other unique qualities going for it. If the item is selling slow and not very many are selling within a given time period, then it's probably best for you to price a little bit below what comps are showing. Since not many people are searching for that particular item, you want to increase your chances of a buyer picking yours when they do come across it because you're priced competitively. Most resellers will come up with a sell-through rate percentage by using this formula. They will look for the number of items sold. They will divide that by the number of listings available. They multiply that result by 100 to get a percentage, and that's what they consider the sell-through rate of an item. I hardly ever use that method. When I'm listing, I usually just have the web version of eBay product research open up on the side. It's just as easy to use as the app version of that tool, but unlike the app, the web version of product research does show you a sell-through rate percentage. To use product research on your computer, go to your eBay Selling Hub. Here under this research tab, select product research. As long as you have access to the seller hub on eBay, you should be able to use this tool here on your computer and on your phone as well. To get started, all you have to do is type in your search query here into the search bar. Click this blue search button right here, and that is going to take you to this page where you will select the appropriate filters to narrow your search. You'll select a specific category, condition of your item, and you can filter by selling format as well. Once you do that, down here, product research is going to give you a bunch of different data that will help you come up with your price. You can see the average sold price for this item right here. You can see a sell-through rate percentage over here, and down here you will see all of the listings that sold, and you can sort these from low to high or high to low. And I find this sorting very helpful when I'm trying to determine whether I want to price my item on the lower or higher end of the market or in the middle. An important thing to note here is that product research does not calculate sell-through rate the same way that some resellers do by using that formula I mentioned earlier where they compare sold versus active listings to come up with that sell-through rate percent. Product research uses a completely different formula to come up with the sell-through rate percentage. I won't go over the differences in this video, but either way, I still do use that sell-through rate percent that eBay gives me as a guide when I'm pricing my items. The higher that percent is, the more demand there is for that item and the faster it's selling. So then I feel confident enough to price my items at market value or a little bit higher if that item has other unique factors going for it. Most of the time I do my comps and my sell-through rate market research on eBay, but there are times that I will have to use Poshmark because I don't find what I'm looking for on eBay. I like to leave Poshmark as my last resort because it is a little bit more cumbersome to navigate their platform to do this research, but I still do find it helpful sometimes. To explain how I do market research on Poshmark, I'm going to use these sandals I listed a few weeks back as an example. Here in the description of these sandals, I do have the brand name along with the style name, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy that part of the description and paste it up here into the search bar. And I'm going to try to do my best to explain my thought process when I was doing the market research for these sandals as I was pricing my item for the first time. The first thing I like to do here on Poshmark is select any of these filters that apply to my item. Sometimes I will select a specific category, although that's not always necessary. Like with these sandals, they're obviously women, so no need to select a category, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now just so you can see how it would work. Then the other filter I like to select sometimes is the color, just to narrow down my search and get more specific data to come up with my pricing. Another thing that could be useful is the condition filter. I will select this only when my item is new with tags, because unfortunately Poshmark does not give us an option to search through listings by pre-owned condition. So I'll only select it if my item is new, and if my item isn't new, then I just leave it unchecked. And when I'm doing my comp research, I just make sure to exclude any listings that have a NWT, like this one right here, that stands for new with tags. So those I won't pay attention to, since my item isn't new with tags. To assess sell-through rate, you are going to have to do it at a glance. And to do that, I just scroll down a bit and take a mental note of how many items, like the one I'm listing, are up for sale. Usually I like to stop right about here where Poshmark says some additional related items, because we could scroll down forever trying to analyze this. So I usually just try to stop right about when Poshmark gives us that message. With that said, there are 2 rows of these sandals in this color, in this style, listed for sale right now on Poshmark. There's a total of 8. The next thing we will do is select the sold filter right here under availability. And here we will basically do the same thing. Check out how many items have sold. And I'm just going to count the rows until I see that Poshmark message. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a total of 7 rows, so about 28 of these sandals that have sold recently. So basically with this method, we're just comparing supply versus demand visually. It is not the most accurate way to do it, but just by doing that, I can see that there are more sandals of this exact style that have sold than are listed currently. So that tells me that there is demand for this item. Another thing you can do is open up a few of these listings in a new tab, and then you can check out the last updated day right here. Most of the time when someone sells an item, they don't go back to their listing in any way. They're not going to share it or anything. So it is safe to say that this is when the item sold. This one sold about 5 days ago. This one also about 5 days ago. And then this one right here sold on June 19th. So about 10 days ago. So that also is an indication that there is demand for this item, because it is selling through fairly often. Now, when it comes to sold comps on Poshmark, again, it is something you're going to have to do visually by mentally comparing the sold prices you see right here after you select the sold filter. I like to just look at the first 3 to 4 rows, and I come up with a very rough average sold price. So looking at these first 3 rows, right off the bat, I'm going to exclude these sandals and these here because they have the NWT, plus I see the box in the picture. So I know that they are new. Mine aren't in that condition, so I will leave those out of the picture. I am also going to exclude these sandals here and these right here because they are priced way high compared to the rest of the ones I'm looking at. Lastly, I'm going to exclude these right here and these right here because they are priced way below the rest. So basically, I want to weed out the ones that there's the most of when it comes to pricing. So for the most part, I am seeing some that are listed anywhere from $38 all the way up to $50 once we exclude the ones that are new with tags or priced way high or way low. So with all of that, I think it is safe to say that the average sold price by looking at these first top 3 rows is anywhere from $35 all the way up to about $47. So those are my simple ways that I do market research. I know it's not the precise way to do it, but it is quick to do and it still does guide me in the right direction. when I'm pricing my items, but also when I'm sourcing my items. We are talking about comps and sell-through rate when it comes to pricing because that is the topic of today's video. But ideally, these are things you should do before you even buy an item to see if it's worth reselling in the first place. This is especially true for new resellers who are still learning what sells good and what doesn't. Pricing mistake number 4 that some resellers tend to make is that they don't factor condition into the price. The condition of your item is going to be a big determinant factor when it comes to pricing. This is very obvious with items that are new with tags or new in box. Those are worth more, so you're able to price those items a lot higher. So make sure that you're always checking that condition filter on these reselling platforms when you're doing all that market research we talked about. That way you're getting the most accurate data and comps to go by. Where it starts to get tricky is if your item is used, because used is such a blanket term. Your item could be used but in like new condition. It could be in good or great condition. Or if the item has a flaw, then it's just used but in fair condition. So I do still check that filter under condition. I check pre-owned, and I will go by the comps I see if my item is in good or great condition. But if my item is in like new condition, then I do add a few extra dollars to the final price to account for that pristine condition that the item is in. On the flip side, if my item has any sort of flaw, big or small, any snag, missing shoelaces, insoles, big scratches, scuffs, or anything like that, I will deduct a couple of dollars from the comps I see to account for those flaws. And the amount I deduct from that final price is going to depend on the severity of the flaw. Along those same lines, something resellers forget to do is price up a little bit for unique qualities. This isn't going to apply for all items, but there are going to be times that you will have an item in your hands that has such special features and qualities that up the value of that item. Some unique qualities could include some intricate embroidery, some very cool designs, rare colors or colorways in shoes, some uncommon sizes like very large sizes or wide widths and even wide calves on boots. Other things that definitely make an item unique are limited editions, discontinued styles, or collabs between brands. If you see that your item has something that other listings don't have when you're doing your comps, that could warrant a little bit more in your pricing, so make sure to look out for that. Pricing mistake number 6 that some resellers make is that they will price the same year-round. Some of these platforms like eBay do have a worldwide customer base, and weather does vary all around the world at different times of the year. But even so, normally items that are in season here in the US will sell a lot faster and for more money, and vice versa. Items that are out of season are going to sell less often and for less money than they would have if that same item was in season. So there are a few things to consider with that information. The first is that when you're checking comps, consider what month we're in, because if you're looking at comps for sweaters at the very beginning of fall, the sold comps that you're going to see are more than likely going to be a lot that's sold during the hot weather. And if typically out of season items sell for less money, those comps you're going to see are not going to be too reliable. A good rule of thumb to follow here is to not rely completely on comps right before a season starts. The second thing to consider when it comes to season in reselling is that if you're listing an item that is completely out of season, you may want to price that item a little bit lower to give it a chance to move faster. Since not many people are searching for that item at the moment, you want to make sure that the few that do come across that item are more likely to pick yours since it's priced competitively. Or you can just list the item at market value at a price that you consider to be fair, if you don't mind possibly waiting for that item to sell until the appropriate season comes back around. Next, very common pricing mistake resellers make is that they will price to sell. Pricing to sell in reselling means that a seller will price their items at the lowest they're willing to take for it. They don't want to negotiate, and if you're interested in one of their items, you have to buy it at the price they have it set at, and that's it. There are many resellers who run this type of business. They put a disclaimer in their Poshmark description letting browsers know they do not accept offers, and they turn off the offer feature on eBay. And I'm sure this works for them. Running a price to sell type of reselling business must have its pros, but I bet it also has its cons, because retail is all about discounts, good deals, and offers. That's what makes it fun a lot of the times. Feeling like you got lucky because you got an item for way less than you expected. And that's why all of these selling platforms give us a lot of different tools to engage buyers by giving them some flash deals, some offers, coupons, and other discounts. If you do plan on using these selling tools the selling platforms have available for us, you want to make sure you leave room for that in your price. Once you have established a good starting point for your price, go ahead and add a few extra dollars to that to make room for the offers and discounts you intend to offer on your items. A great tip I have here is to print out some sort of discount cheat sheet and have it by you when you're listing, so you can know about how much you should price up your items, which is going to depend on the discount you want to give. On Poshmark, I do use a tool called Flip. That tool will send out offers automatically on my behalf all day, every day. It sends out an 18% off offer with a shipping discount to anyone who likes my item. On eBay, I do have best offers turned on. I'm also running a 20% coupon code on my store all the time as well. And I send out 20% off offers to anyone who watches my items on eBay. So those are all the things that I account for when I'm determining the final selling price for my items. Once I determine what price I want to get for the item, I will add about 20 to 25% on top of that. When I intend to get about $25 for an item, I go ahead and list that item for about $32 to $34. When I want to get closer to $30 for an item, I will list it for about $40 to $42. After doing my market research, I determined that the average sold comps for these sandals was anywhere from $35 to about $47, because these sandals are in like new condition. Because we are in the appropriate season for these sandals, I intend to get closer to the $40 mark for them. I priced these sandals at $52. I feel like that gives me enough room for me to send out offers, apply discounts to this item, or accept any offers that come my way. Next common pricing mistake is that resellers will never adjust their prices. As I've been mentioning a lot throughout this video and in other past videos, there are a lot of variables when it comes to reselling as a whole, but pricing as well. The goal with researching to come up with prices is just to try to get it right a lot more often the more you do it. But there are going to be times that you get it way wrong and your item will just sit and sit because your item is priced too high. That's why I like to give my items about 90 days to sell. If nothing happens, then I know it's time to pivot. If you watch any of my other content, then you know that I am a big fan of relisting items. I will go in, delete items from my platforms, update them, make them better, update the pricing, and then list them again. You don't have to go through all that trouble of deleting your items altogether and reposting them again if you don't want to, but you can at least go in and reduce prices, recheck demand and comps, and adjust your price accordingly. To drop your prices on eBay, go to your seller hub, go to your listings tab, scroll down here where your listings are, and you can sort your items by date by clicking this arrow here. Now my items are sorted from oldest to newest, so I can just scroll through here and select the ones I want to drop prices for. I'm going to select 5 random ones to show you how this works. Once you're done selecting the ones you want, scroll back up. In this edit tab here, you're going to click on edit selected. Here it will bring up all the items you selected. Go ahead and select them all one more time by clicking this top empty box here. Then click on bulk edit. The thing you want to edit here is your buy it now price. So go ahead and select that third option. You're going to want to lower your price, so go ahead and select that first option, and you can lower it by any percent you want. I do anywhere from 5 to 10%. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 5% for now. Go ahead and click apply. Now your prices have been edited here. If you wanted to go ahead and edit them even more, you can click into these boxes and make adjustments if you want. Go ahead and click submit all once you're okay with the prices you have set. And now your prices have been updated. To reduce your prices on Poshmark, go to your profile picture, select my closet. Then you want to add 2 filters before you start reducing your prices in bulk. The first filter is the just in filter. The next filter you're going to select is available items only. Adding these 2 filters before you start reducing prices is going to organize your closet from newest to oldest. Your oldest items are going to be towards the bottom. Go ahead and select this tool icon right here. Then click on edit listing price. You're going to edit it by dropping your price, and you can select any of these percentages. I like to go with a 10%. And if you do this during closet clear out days, which is usually Friday and Sundays, the likers will receive a notification letting them know you've price dropped your item by 10%, and they will also receive $4.99 discounted shipping, which will incentivize them even more to go ahead and purchase that day. Click on next when you're done choosing your settings here. You could select all if you wanted to drop the prices of all of your items, or you can scroll to the very bottom of your closet where, as I said earlier, is where your oldest items will be. So that's what I usually do. Once I've scrolled down towards the very bottom of my closet, I will go ahead and start selecting any items that have been listed for a while. And if you wanted to see when you listed any of these items, you can right click on the image, click open image in new tab, and at the top in this URL you'll be able to see the date right here. It says 2024-04-25. That means I listed these in April 25th of this year. That is now 60 days ago. So then I could use that time frame to decide whether I want to go ahead and drop the price of these or not. I'll go ahead and select a few here just to show you how this works. Once you're done selecting all the items you want to drop your prices for, go ahead and click this blue button here. Click drop prices again, and then Poshmark will proceed to drop all the prices of the items you've selected. To recap, here are the pricing mistakes to avoid. Don't use what you paid for an item as a starting point to come up with your price. Don't skip market research. Look up comps to see what people are willing to pay for an item like yours, and check out sell-through rate to see how fast or slow an item is selling. Don't forget to account for condition and any unique qualities your item may have. Don't price your item the same year round unless you don't mind waiting for your item to sell. And definitely do not price your item for the amount you expect to get for it. Always add a little bit of padding on your pricing to make room for discounts and offers. And most of all, don't forget to go back after a few months, reevaluate your listing price, and adjust accordingly. Setting a good price is only one part of a good listing. Another major part is creating a great detailed title with keywords. If you'd like to see a video on that, click this video right here. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.